Never did I think I'd be doing a story time, but here we are. What's up guys, this is Sam, and today I want to talk about ordering my iPhone 10 and the hell of a process that it has been to try to get one of these on day one. So my initial plan on October 27th, the day that pre-orders went live, was to stay up till 2:01 a.m. in my time zone, Central Time. That's when they went live. I was going to go to apple.com, pre-order the phone, go to bed a couple minutes later, and move on, get the phone on Friday, November 3rd. But I was a little worried because we had heard time and time again, these phones are going to be hard to get. Are there going to be enough? Are carriers going to have them? There were a lot of different questions that we didn't know. So a few minutes before pre-orders went live, I checked Verizon's site just to see. I wanted a backup plan in case I couldn't get my order in through apple.com. And sure enough, at about 11:55 Pacific Standard, pre-orders for the iPhone 10 went live on Verizon.com, but nobody was really there because everyone was waiting on Apple's site for the 12:01 a.m. official launch time. So I got one or two orders in on Verizon instantly. I was going to try to get a third one in on Apple just to make sure I got one on launch day, but then I got to this screen on Apple's site that I think a lot of other people saw, which was you needed the account holder's social security, last four digits. And I did not know my mom's social security number or the last four digits, but I knew the Verizon account login, which already had that information inside. So I was like, you know what? I wanted to get it through Apple. That didn't happen. That's okay. I'm going to get two through Verizon on Friday, November 3rd. I saw the ship date. I thought I was good to go. And then that's when I realized I messed up. I remember when I was ordering it the first time, I realized this was through Verizon and not Apple. So I wasn't paying with Apple Pay. I was inputting my credit card manually. And I realized, no, I had the credit card information right, but the address, it was going to my home address rather than my college address, which is where I am right now and where I'm going to be on Friday, November 3rd. So I thought, oh my gosh, I ordered it to the wrong address. Wait, that's okay. It hasn't even gone through yet. I'll go on their site and I'll change it real quick. But boy, was I wrong. And I went to change my Verizon address, but on the entirety of Verizon.com, at least for the US version, there is nowhere to change or even add an address. You know when you order something from Amazon or Apple or literally any other company out there, how you can add an address if you don't want the one that's already in there? You can't do that on Verizon, so it had to go to my house. And because it was too late to pre-order from Apple, those were already 5 to 6 weeks out, I didn't have any other options. See, this is the part of the story where things get really interesting, and the part of the story where I knew something was wrong in hindsight, but at the time it sounded like a really good idea. So when I called Verizon support, I was on hold for maybe 5 or 10 minutes before talking to someone, which is annoying in the first place, but I wanted to get this problem solved. Finally got a hold of a representative, this very nice woman who was going to walk me through the process of fixing this. She told me, yeah, I can totally fix your address. We just need to cancel out the other orders. And I said, yeah, let's do that as long as we can change the address. Now, if you're paying attention here, this is the part of the story where you'd say, Sam, why did you tell her to cancel the orders? Something's going to go wrong here. You're going to lose your spot in line. And you're right. And I mentioned something. When we were on the phone, I said, now before you cancel these orders out, just to make sure, this is my job. I need this on launch day. I can't wait a couple of days after, even a few hours after. I need them on day one as soon as I can get them. If I cancel these out, if you cancel these out, will they impact my ability to get them on Friday, November 3rd? That's the launch day. That's when I need them. And she said, no, absolutely not. No matter what we do, I'm going to submit this thing called a jump the line request. She said, I just have to submit something called a jump the line request, and that will put you at the very front of the line so that you get this iPhone on launch day. And I thought to myself, for years, I've been trying to worry about getting it on launch day and never had anything happen. I could just call and request to jump the line for some reason like this and then always get my phone on launch day. Sounded like a great deal. She canceled out both my orders. I was still a little skeptical, but I'm like, well, if she said that I'm getting them on November 3rd, obviously, I'm going to cancel the orders, get them sent to the correct address so I wouldn't have to drive 3 or 4 hours to my home and then back to school. I could just get them to the same address, get them on launch day. It was a win-win for everyone. So when I heard about this jump the line thing, I thought that everything would be okay. I would get to go to the front of the line. I wouldn't lose my spot. I would still be getting everything. On November 3rd, I said, go for it. Another time during the call, I just said, you canceled these. Are you sure that I'll get these on November 3rd? Once again, Sam, we'll make sure you get these. We know how important that is to you, and we're going to make sure we do everything in our power to confirm and guarantee that it is coming on Friday, November 3rd. So I continued on. We had the conversation, redid the orders, resubmitted my credit card info, updated my address, and we went on with the order. Eventually, as we finished up, she said, is there anything else I can help you with? I said, no, thank you so much. She was very kind. She seemed very knowledgeable about the topic, and she was a super great person to talk to. She was really funny, joked around, and I enjoyed the conversation. She said, hey, if you need anything else, I'm going to give you my, not personal email, but Verizon email. We can talk about things through email if something else happens with your order or you need additional information. I said, thank you so much. That means a lot. I'll email you if I need anything else. She gave me her address. We hung up and I went on my way, thinking that everything was resolved and I would definitely be getting 2 iPhone 10s on Friday, November 3rd. But once again, boy was I wrong. This entire conversation happened on Friday, October 27th, just a few hours after pre-orders went live, maybe 12 p.m. Central Standard, 1 p.m. Central Standard, sometime around then. It wasn't like days later on Tuesday. I was like, hey, I expect this to be at my house because I'm changing the address 5 days later. It was hours after I initially placed my pre-order, so I thought everything would be fine. Eventually, a few days later, I thought to myself, because I kept checking online, the dates aren't updating. It still is giving me these dates. I'll throw these screenshots up on screen for sometime later in November, like November 22nd, November 20th, and then sometime in December, I think, for the black version or space gray version. So I was getting a little concerned, but once again, she had told me that with the jump the line, you're not going to see those changes online because you're getting in front of everyone else. The system won't exactly recognize it, or at least this is how I understood it, and you won't really know. You'll just get the phones in the mail on Friday, November 3rd. Once again, another red flag, but at the time, I was just happy to be dealing with things, and I was told, like, you're gonna get this on Friday, November 3rd, no matter what, so I didn't really question it. So on Saturday, October 28th, the day after pre-orders went live, I sent her an email and said, hey, haven't seen anything update online. Are you sure that everything went through? Do you need anything else on my end? And then she actually offered to give me tracking numbers. And as a YouTuber, when a company says, hey, we'll give you a tracking number for this big product that's coming in, you just get super excited because that's a big deal. You can track it. You know exactly when it'll be here. You can plan your content around it. You can rely on that thing getting to you on that day, so long as nothing crazy happens like a hurricane or a tornado where it wouldn't be able to be delivered. But this was going to be fine. I wasn't anticipating any natural disasters to be happening, and I thought I'd get my iPhone 10 on launch day. And then it was Monday, and now it's Tuesday, and I have not gotten a response from this woman yet. She is ghosting me. I wanted to title this video Ghosted by a Verizon Lady, because I think that'd be kind of funny. But yeah, she's not replying to my emails because I think she realizes that something went wrong during the process. And during another conversation with another Verizon representative, I found out that that was exactly the case. You can probably notice some sarcasm in my voice. This is the part of the story where I was just in disbelief and I was getting really upset. Second or third call to Verizon support. I chatted with someone online earlier today. Now it is Wednesday, November 1st, and I thought everything would get resolved. I called this amazing Verizon representative, even better than the first one, and I'm not saying that sarcastically. Like, I don't want Verizon to figure out who this is and get upset. Both of them were very helpful. I think the first woman just made a mistake. The second dude, so friendly, went above and beyond, and I mean that. I'm not actually being sarcastic. He was incredible. He gave me so many suggestions, literally did everything in his power, and as you'll hear, there's a lot that happened on this phone call. So when I called Verizon today, super nice guy answered the phone, not gonna reveal his name, but he said, hey, what's your name? I said, I'm Sam. And my last name, he said, hey, how are you doing, Sam? What can we help you with today? And I said, well, I've noticed online, I ordered these iPhones to be shipped to where I am on November 3rd, but they haven't updated. Could you give me an updated tracking number or a tracking number in the first place, or at least give me a date that you know for sure they'll be here? Because I was told it would be November 3rd. I spoke with someone before it would be November 3rd, but it's not updated, and I'm starting to get a little bit worried. So he said, sure, we'll look into that. And he went on my page and said, yeah, they're coming in November and December. I said, well, I had this conversation, and a Verizon representative, somebody just like you, told me it would be here. And that's why I canceled the orders. They told me it would be here, something called like a jump the line request, and he goes, oh yeah, let me actually look into the case. I'm sure we'll see whether you were authorized or declined. And that's when it hit me. You had to be authorized for a jump the line request. When the lady said it, she said, oh yeah, we have to submit some paperwork, but yeah, it'll get approved right away and you'll be able to get your iPhone on November 3rd. The guy looked into the case and he said, oh yeah, that jump the line request that lady did, Apple declined it because everything goes through Apple. And I was like, what? Like, shouldn't it have been authorized for Verizon? And he started explaining the situation, and it was really interesting how these carriers work with Apple to get the iPhones on day one. I don't know if I have a perfect understanding of how this works, but from what the male Verizon representative told me, he said, hey, you have to submit this through Apple. Like, this isn't going through higher ups for Verizon when you submit a jump the line request. This is going through Apple. So that was the problem the first time. The first Verizon representative never told me, never made it clear that you would be declined. She was like, oh yeah, like you'll definitely get approved. It'll go right through. You'll be good to go. There was no doubt in her voice. So I just went with it and I canceled my 2 orders, which I really wish I would have kept because then they would be somewhere on November 3rd. At least I could get to them. but now I can't. It's totally locked up, totally pushed back, and this dude went through a number of other steps to help me try and get it on day one. One of which is really funny, and you guys have to hear. So it's right about here that we're 25-30 minutes into the phone call, and I can hear in the dude's voice who's helping me, it's not looking good. He's telling me there's not really anything else they can do just on Verizon's end. They don't have any pull to make me jump the line. He's like, you could just go to a retail store on day one and hope for that. And I explained, well, the whole reason I pre-ordered is so I wouldn't have to get up at 6 a.m. that day, and it would definitely be at my house or my dorm. And it was just a big mess. But then he came up with this idea. He said, well, something that I've tried in the past, something that we could try now is to actually call an Apple specialist, call their helpline. I'll explain that I'm from Verizon and see if I have more pull than just you calling and saying, hey, move my iPhone 10 order up, please. So he did. And this is where things get crazy. So he put me on hold for a few minutes, called Apple, and I was just chilling, listening to the nice music that Verizon gives you. And he calls back and goes, yeah, give me 1 second. I called about your iPhone 10. They laughed at me and hung up. I go, what? They laughed at you and hung up? You called Apple, not like Joe's computer shop down the street. Like, you didn't talk to Joe, you talked to somebody from Apple, right? And he's like, no, like literally I called them. They went, no, and then hung up. And that was the end of the story. So he goes, well, let me go ahead and call back. I'll put you on hold again. And I'm like, what? Apple just hung up on you for asking to move my iPhone 10 date up? How does that even work? But it gets better. He calls back again, and they somehow blocked his number so that he was unable to speak to a real human being. And Apple's automated system was giving him someone automated to talk to, giving him these random codes. He could not physically speak to someone again because they blocked his number and thought that he was a scammer or joking around. This is Apple, the biggest company in the world, blocking Verizon, another really big company, over an issue that one of Verizon and by the same law, Apple's customer is having, which is just the craziest thing that I've ever heard. It was really disappointing and a really weird situation. Obviously, you always hear these stories about Apple support being great, going the extra mile, giving you something free if you had an issue. That was quite the opposite. Apparently my issue is laughable. They didn't even care the dude was from Verizon, even though he was calling from a 1-800 number from another company to a 1-800 number. Apple just doesn't care. It's super frustrating. I'm very upset that Verizon is just like stuck in the middle here. I'm upset that Apple is only granting jump the line requests for people that ordered through the Apple Store app. That was another detail he shared. I feel like they're better than this. I feel like they should be able to work with Verizon. I feel like other people have had this issue. The guy told me on the phone he's had a number of other calls, not even just today, but this week. The first woman I talked to said other people were trying to change their address. There's an issue not only on Verizon's site where you can't change the address, but an issue between cell phone carriers, major cell phone carriers. This isn't like a smaller one like, I don't know, Walmart has a service. This is Verizon, maybe the largest carrier in the US and one of the largest carriers, cannot even talk to someone at Apple to get an issue resolved, which is a really big problem. And I'm just making this video for the other people that have had an issue. I don't know how in 2017 they don't have a way to communicate to resolve issues. The guy on Verizon was literally like, and it wasn't his fault. It's not like he wasn't doing his job. It's the system set in place, not only at Apple, but at Verizon, where these customer service reps can only do so much. And I don't know why Verizon and Apple are empowering these employees to go the extra step to make customers really happy. Because of this experience, I will never pre-order something through Verizon again. And if you want to change an address, just know if you want something on launch day, stay away from all carriers. Verizon in particular, I don't know about the policies and procedures for AT&T and T-Mobile and Sprint, but Verizon clearly does not have their act together if you can't change an address on their website. Also, Apple giving preferential treatment to people who only order through the Apple Store app. This is a really important detail that I forgot to share. The dude said that even for Verizon customers that had an issue, maybe a glitch in their system, Apple only offers jump the line service for people that order through the Apple Store app. So when people say, oh, it's better to order through the Apple Store app, that is the reason. You will have a way to get that phone on release day. If you earned your spot in line, you're not going to lose it. It's just so frustrating that you always hear these stories about Apple support being so good, so dedicated, always going the extra step, but they are somehow unable to help anyone else that didn't order through the Apple Store app. I sort of get it, but at the same time, Verizon and Apple work like this. All carriers and major flagship sellers, Samsung, Google, Apple, should be working together at some point to make sure these phones and everything is going smoothly. But this year, that's not the case. Apple support laughing at a Verizon rep. These are stories that you don't think are real, but they are. And I'm making this video because if this happened to me, There's no way that this did not happen to hundreds or thousands of other people. I heard stories from the Verizon reps as I was talking to them that I was not only the second or third person that had really called that day, but this week. And since iPhone 10 pre-orders went live, they said so many people were wanting to change their address. That means so many people are not getting their iPhone 10s on day one. I've seen a lot of articles from 9to5Mac, Mac Rumors, maybe even The Verge, saying iPhone 10 pre-order dates are moving up for some carriers. This is why. Someone is getting my iPhone 10 on launch day. I'm not getting it. I'm not getting my spot because I lost it somehow. Someone's getting my iPhone 10 that I feel like I earned for staying up at 2 in the morning or 12 in the morning to pre-order these. But that's gone. So if you're somebody who got their date moved up, there's probably a reason for that. I don't think iPhone stock is just appearing in these little pockets around the United States and around the world in these magical Apple retail shipment and distribution centers. I think people are changing their addresses, being told by customer service representatives that they can change it and still get it as soon as they were before, and then realizing at the end of the day that that was not the case at all. This is the first time I've made a video on something like this. Let me know your thoughts down below. It's really frustrating. I tried to get the iPhone on launch day. I was told by Verizon that I could, and then all of a sudden, they had to cancel the orders. I lost my spot in line, and the only way to change that is to go through Apple's Apple Store app. Why are people not transparent about this? Why is this the first time I've ever heard of jump the line, and why does it only work if you order through the Apple Store app? These are big questions that we should be asking Apple. I've never seen anybody else talk about this before, but I know for a fact that this year a number of people have also gotten cheated out of their spot in line just because they didn't order through the Apple Store app. Obviously, I would have been more prepared if I knew I had to order through the Apple Store app, but nobody tells you this. There's no information. Apple didn't say at the keynote, oh, star, asterisk, if you pre-order through Verizon and then you have to change your address, you don't get one on day one. Sorry, it happens. It's policy. You don't hear that. And I think it's dumb for the biggest company in the world to have a policy like that, and even worse for a carrier working with the biggest company in the world to not allow you to change their address. I could ramble on it for hours, but it's a problem, and if you want Verizon or Apple to see this video or hear about the issue, tweet at them, email them. That's the only way to make your voice heard. I will be probably sending someone at Apple an email, someone at Verizon an email, just so that other people don't get cheated in the future. That's all for now. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll talk to you later.